Along a shady little valley through which our road lay, the surgeons had been plying their vocation all the morning upon the wounded. Tables about breast high had been erected upon which screaming victims were having legs and arms cut off. The surgeons and their assistants, stripped to the waist and all bespattered with blood, stood around, some holding the poor fellows while others, armed with long bloody knives and saws, cut and sawed away with frightful rapidity, throwing the mangled limbs on a pile nearby as soon as removed. Lieutenant Colonel W. W. Blackford, 1st Cavalry, Virginia.
What a horrible sight it was. Here a man, grasping his gun firmly in his hands, stone dead. Several with distorted features, all horribly dirty. Many were terribly wounded, some with legs shot off, others with arms gone. Some so badly wounded they could not drag themselves away, slowly bleeding to death. We stopped many times to give some a drink, and soon saw enough to satisfy us with the horrors of war. Lieutenant Josiah Favell.
I struggled on, clinging to my gun and cartridge box. Many times I sat down in the mud, determined to go no further, and willing to die and end my misery. But soon a friend would pass and urge me to make another effort, and I would stagger a mile further. At daylight, we could see the spires of Washington, and a welcome sight it was. The loss of the regiment in this disastrous affair was 93 killed, wounded, or missing.
There is a congressman, I believe from Alabama, I've forgotten where from, who said there would be no war, and he offered to wipe up all the blood that would be shed with a pocket handkerchief. That was his prediction. I've always said someone could get a PhD by calculating how many pocket handkerchiefs it would take to wipe up all the blood that was shed. It'd be a lot of handkerchiefs.
From the Confederate White House in Richmond, Jefferson Davis rejoiced.
My fellow citizens, your little army, derided for its want of arms, derided for its lack of all the essential material of war, has met the grand army of the enemy, routed it at every point, and it now flies inglorious in retreat before our victorious columns. We have taught them a lesson in their invasion of the sacred soil of Virginia.
Today will be known as Black Monday. We are utterly and disgracefully routed, beaten, whipped by secessionists. George Templeton Strong.
London Times. The inmates of the White House are in a state of utmost trepidation, and Mr. Lincoln in despair. Why Beauregard does not attack Washington, I know not, nor can I well guess.
It was remembered as the Great Skedaddle. For days, discouraged troops straggled back into Washington.
I saw a steady stream of men, covered with mud, soaked through with rain, who were pouring irregularly up Pennsylvania Avenue toward the Capitol. A dense stream of vapor rose from the multitude. I asked a pale young man who looked exhausted to death whether the whole army had been defeated. That's more than I know, he said. I know I'm going home. I've had enough of fighting to last my lifetime.
The North was appalled at the 5,000 casualties. Both sides now knew it would be no 90 days war. 2 days later, canny real estate speculators bought up the battlefield to make a second kind of killing as a tourist attraction.